Listen, most guys think dropping big money on a semi-auto means it will run flawlessly when the temperature drops to freezing and the gun is exposed to corrosive saltwater and abrasive mud, and it costs them the best shots of the season. Here is the deal. Stop buying hype just because a shotgun looks pretty on a rack. We're talking about waterfowl hunting in 2026. You are dealing with heavy magnum loads that put massive mechanical stress on your gear. You think you know which guns actually survive this abuse? You have never seen a breakdown like this. I am stripping down the most reliable semi-auto shotguns for waterfowl this year, covering everything from gas-operated to inertia-driven systems. No safe queens, no range toys, just the gritty truth about what cycles when it matters most. Look, I know the fanboys are gonna hate some of these picks, but we are looking at real-world performance. Starting off at rank 7, we have the Mossberg 940 Pro Waterfowl. Look, this rig brings some serious modern capability to the blind, especially if you are hunting on a strict budget. The street price usually sets you back under $1,000 at the counter, which makes it highly accessible for guys wanting to sling 12-gauge downrange without taking out a second mortgage. Under the hood, the major mechanical insight here is the pre-milled receiver for an RMS-C micro red dot. Instead of clamping a bulky Picatinny rail and a high mount that destroys your natural cheek weld, this direct cut lets the optic sit incredibly low inside the receiver metal. Because it sits that deep, the red dot co-witnesses perfectly with your factory barrel rib, meaning your eye aligns instantly the second the stock hits your shoulder. I saw a guy at the range last season struggling with a high-mounted dot on a different semi-auto, lifting his head on every passing shot and completely missing his target. You do not get that problem here. The gas operation also tames heavy waterfowl loads beautifully, turning what should be an angry kick into a polite shove against your shoulder. But let's be real, this gun has a nasty deal breaker. The quality control is a roll of the dice, and the gas system is incredibly sensitive to freezing moisture. If you run this thing hard in wet, freezing mud, and do not strip it down for a deep clean every single night, you're going to experience stovepipes and light primer strikes in the morning. Sound off below if you trust this rig in the salt, because in my book, it requires way too much babying for a reliable workhorse gun. Stepping up the game to rank 6, we have the Retay Masai Mara. Look, the Turkish imports have been flooding the market for years, but this rig actually commands respect in the freezing mud. The damage to your wallet is roughly 1,450 to 1,600, placing it right in the middle of the pack for serious waterfowl hunters. It eats heavy 3.5-inch 12-gauge loads for breakfast, pushing that dense tungsten or steel right where it needs to go. Under the hood, Retay solved a massive headache with their proprietary Inertia Plus locking system. On a standard inertia gun, if you ease the bolt forward quietly in the blind or snag the charging handle on brush, the rotating bolt head can fail to lock into battery. When you pull the trigger, you get a dead click instead of a bang. I saw a buddy completely blow his chance at a descending mallard last December because his old inertia rig clicked on him. The Inertia Plus uses a deep torsion spring inside the bolt body that mechanically forces the bolt head to rotate and lock shut, completely eliminating that infamous failure. Rugged and reliable, this shotgun features deep hole-drilled barrels that throw incredibly consistent patterns downrange. When you are tracking a fast-moving teal, the trigger snaps like a dry twig at exactly 4 pounds, giving you a crisp break without the spongy creep you find on cheaper imports. Because it is an inertia gun, it runs exceptionally clean even after hundreds of rounds. But the recoil hits like a pissed-off steer if you're chaining heavy magnum shells all morning. Honestly, there is a catch. The aftermarket support and proprietary parts will drain your wallet if you need replacements. Finding spare chokes or internal components locally on a Friday night before a hunt is basically impossible compared to the giant Italian brands. You have to order direct and pay a premium, which is a massive headache if something breaks mid-season. Now we get serious with Rank 5, the Brown & A520 gauge. This sub-gauge killer is an absolute workhorse, but wait until you see the undisputed monster waiting at number 1. The damage to your wallet is roughly $1,900 out the door. Look, the sub-gauge revolution is taking over the marsh right now. With modern non-toxic loads like bismuth and tungsten supershot, dragging a massive 12 gauge through the freezing mud is not always necessary to get terminal performance. Under the hood, this rig operates on their proprietary kinematic drive system. Instead of relying on dirty gas tapped from the barrel, this setup harnesses the rearward recoil energy to compress a heavy internal spring located directly inside the bolt carrier group. When that spring violently expands, it throws the bolt backward to eject the spent shell. This mechanical action means the receiver stays bone dry and completely free of carbon fouling, even if you are burning through flats of shells during a late season hunt. It feeds on 3-inch tungsten supershot for breakfast. Squeezing the trigger breaks like a thick icicle snapping under your heavy boot. Because it is incredibly light, tipping the scales at just under 6 pounds, the recoil hits like a firm, steady shove rather than a sharp punch to your jaw. I saw a guy in flooded Arkansas timber swing this exact gun past a thick oak tree and completely neutralize a drake mallard at 45 yards before the bird even flared. But let us be real here. There is a serious deal breaker when it comes to the factory setup. The proprietary Invector DS choke tubes are notorious for backing out of the threads after a heavy volley of magnum loads. You will constantly find yourself tightening them by hand in the blind while wearing thick neoprene gloves. This means you are basically forced to drop extra cash on a premium aftermarket choke tube just to keep your pattern consistent and secure. It is a top-tier waterfowl crossover rig, but it still demands extra money to be perfect. Escalating the game to rank 4, we have the Franchi Affinity 3.5. Look, I know the fanboys will hate this, but this rig is basically a budget version of the Italian heavy hitters, and it performs like an absolute tank in the freezing mud. You will drop around $1,600 for the elite waterfowl model, which leaves plenty of cash for decoys. It feeds on heavy 12-gauge, 3.5-inch shells, cycling everything from dense tungsten to standard steel once you break it in. I watched a guy drop this exact shotgun into an icy marsh last November, pick it up, and instantly dust a pintail at 40 yards without a single hiccup. Under the hood, it uses a front-mounted inertia spring located over the magazine tube instead of hiding it inside the rear stock. This specific engineering choice shifts the balance point slightly forward. That means when you are pulling ahead of a fast crossing teal, the gun carries its own momentum and forces a smoother swing. It runs incredibly clean, keeping raw carbon out of your action when the temperature drops to freezing. Rugged and reliable, it gets the job done when it counts. But the recoil punches like a heavyweight fighter, sending all that rearward kinetic energy straight into your shoulder. Even with their proprietary twin shock absorber pad, you're going to feel it the next morning if you shoot a high volume. When you finally squeeze off a round, the trigger breaks like a frozen carrot snapping in half. Crisp enough, but definitely packing some resistance. Here is the deal breaker though. The finish wears off if you just look at it wrong. Take this thing into a layout blind for one hard season, and you will see the factory camo pattern chipping away around the receiver edges and the grip. It works hard, but it certainly will not stay pretty for long. Entering the elite tier, we have the Winchester SX4. Honestly, this is the undisputed working-class champion of the marsh. You will hand over about $830 to $1,019 at the counter for this rig. Spitting 12-gauge 3.5-inch magnums downrange, it runs with zero hesitation. I hunted with a guy in a Dakota snowstorm who ran this gun dry and dirty for 3 days straight, and it never failed to cycle a single round of thick steel shot. Under the hood, it utilizes their proprietary active valve gas system. This is not just a standard piston pushing a rod. The self-adjusting valve automatically bleeds off excess pressure when you fire heavy magnum shells, which prevents the bolt carrier group from battering the receiver. Because it vents that high-pressure gas so efficiently, it regulates the bolt speed to run smoothly, whether you are shooting light 1-ounce target loads or heavy tungsten. Rugged and reliable, this system tames the recoil so well that it absorbs the kick like a thick memory foam mattress. You can easily stay on target for fast follow-up shots on a flock of crossing geese. When you pull the trigger, the brake rolls heavily before snapping like a heavy deadbolt, sliding into place. The oversized controls make it incredibly easy to run when your hands are numb and wrapped in thick neoprene gloves. But let's be real, there is a massive deal breaker regarding the ergonomics. The factory box does not include any drop or cast shims to adjust the stock fitment. If the length of pull and drop do not naturally align with your specific shoulder and cheek structure, you are basically out of luck without spending extra money on aftermarket modifications. It is a reliable tool, but forced fitment is a frustrating reality. Closer to the crown, we have the Beretta AX800 Suprema. Look, this rig is designed to survive the absolute worst environments on Earth. The damage to your wallet is roughly $2,500 out the door, making it a massive investment for serious waterfowlers. It eats 12-gauge for breakfast, handling heavy 3.5-inch magnums down to light 1-ounce target loads without requiring a single manual adjustment. Under the hood, this shotgun utilizes the advanced B-Link Pro gas piston system. Instead of a basic rod setup, it extracts high-pressure expanding gases from the barrel through microports to violently drive a precision piston rearward. This rapid cycle physically forces carbon buildup out of the action while drastically reducing felt recoil. It keeps the bolt carrier group cycling fast and reliable even when the temperature drops into the single digits. I saw a guide out on the coast drop this exact setup into a muddy tidal flat, shake the sludge off, and instantly drop 2 incoming teal. The Kickoff Pro recoil reduction system pushes like a heavy ocean swell, completely saving your shoulder from abuse during a high-volume snow goose hunt. Squeezing the trigger breaks like thin ice on a winter puddle, giving you a remarkably crisp snap for a field gun. But let's be real, the build material is a massive deal breaker for purists. The entire receiver is crafted from high-impact polymer instead of traditional aerospace aluminum or steel. If you are a traditionalist who values craftsmanship, holding this plastic frame feels exactly like gripping a cordless power tool instead of a heritage firearm. Here is the deal. We have finally reached the undisputed king of the marsh. Taking the #1 spot is the Benelli Super Black Eagle 3 AI BE.S.T. Look, street price is roughly $2,850, making it an absolute premium investment, but it delivers terminal performance that justifies every single penny. It feeds on 12-gauge magnums without a single hiccup, shrugging off freezing rain and salt water like it is nothing. Under the hood, Benelli completely reinvented the internal barrel geometry with their advanced impact system. Instead of a standard constriction, they overbored the barrel to exactly 0.775 inches and paired it with a massively elongated forcing cone. This proprietary contour physically prevents the steel shot payload from deforming as it leaves the chamber, creating a drafting effect that drastically shortens the shot string for maximum kinetic energy downrange. It gives you the rugged inertia reliability of number 4, the Franchi Affinity, but with an advanced barrel design that puts the space-age polymer of number 2, the Beretta AX800, to shame, because they treat the metal with their diamond like carbon surface treatment. This rig is practically immune to saltwater corrosion. I watched a guide in coastal Texas drop this exact rig straight into saltwater mud, rinse it in a puddle, and immediately fold a snow goose at 60 yards. When you run this gun hot, the recoil is a firm, steady push rather than a sharp punch, saving your shoulder on high-volume days. Pulling the trigger snaps like stepping on dry winter ice. Clean, fast, and completely unpredictable for the birds. It requires almost zero lubrication, meaning you do not have to worry about carbon fouling freezing up your action when you are miles away from the truck. Look, the marsh does not care about your feelings. It definitely does not care about the massive price tag on your shotgun receiver. When the temperature drops to single digits and the freezing rain starts blowing sideways, all that matters is terminal performance. I just gave you the gritty breakdown of the 7 most reliable semi-auto shotguns for waterfowl hunting in 2026. Whether you choose the soft recoil of a gas-operated rig to save your shoulder, or the bone-dry reliability of an inertia-driven tank, your success comes down to knowing your gear. Stop trusting marketing hype and start trusting proven mechanics. Do your maintenance, pattern those heavy tungsten loads, and put in the work before opening day. The birds are not going to wait for you to clear a stovepipe jam in the mud. If you want the raw truth without the fluff, lock it in right here.